What up? It's your boy, Let 'em know so. Back with another video. And today, I want to talk about something called the one drop rule. Now, let me explain to all of y'all who may have never heard of this. This is something that is that you'll find primarily in American culture, specifically in the Black community, right? So the one drop rule is the idea that if you have at least one Black ancestor, no matter how many generations back, if you have even one little drop of African blood in your body, that makes you Black. Like that means that your race is Black, right? Now, first off, let me just start off by saying the one drop rule is complete bullshit. Okay? Let me tell you why. I am American. My race happens to be Black. Now, one thing I can tell you is that judging by American history, because I know American history very well, I know for a fact that I'm not 100% African, genetically speaking. I know for a fact that very early in the days of the United States, and even before it was officially its own country, back when it was still part of Britain, there was a lot of enslavement going on, obviously. I mean, obvious to me because I know American history, but for anybody who doesn't know American history, this country in the beginning was basically largely in part built on slavery, okay? And one part of slavery that was all too common, one part of American chattel slavery that was all too common was the sexual exploitation of enslaved women and men too. Literally anybody who was a slave, it was very possible for you to get exploited in every single way, including sexually. So judging by that, and also I gotta say, the main ones who were doing the sexual exploitation were the men who held slaves, who were usually, in the case of the United States, the slave owners were white Englishmen. So I know for a fact that I'm not 100% African. And I guess I got kind of long-winded because the point that I wanted to make from that whole that little background story I just gave in American history is that if the one drop rule was true, if having one little drop or one ancestor from a certain demographic means that you are completely that demographic, if you have one African ancestor and that actually meant you're completely African, no, that's not the case. Because if the one drop rule was actually real, then I would be considered white. Why do I say that? Because I know for a fact that I have a little bit of English in me, as the average Black American does. And that's because just about all of us descend from people who were getting sexually taken advantage of. And so, that's why we don't have 100% African ancestry anymore. The average Black American has a little bit of European in them. And then, it varies by, person to person, but that's why Black Americans, in addition to Black people in general, literally anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, anywhere where slavery was prevalent, so America, Mexico, Dominican Republic, literally all of Latin America, where they really have a reputation for being super mixed down there. Nobody is pure anything anymore. So for me to say that, he's 10% African, that means he's Black, it's complete bullshit. Imagine me saying, hey guys, I have let's say 15% English blood. So that means I'm white. You guys would look at me like I'm a fucking retard. Because obviously, I'm not white. Yeah, I have a little bit of English blood in me, but I'm not white. And by that same token, well, yeah, English, and not just English, but European in general. Any European, because white just equals European. So yeah, like again, just to reiterate, for me to say, oh yeah, guys, I'm 10% European, I'm 15% European, I'm 20% European. That means I'm white. Again, you guys would look at me like I'm retarded because obviously I'm not white. Do white people have dark skin or brown skin? No. Do white people have thick, fluffy hair? Look at my sexy hair. No, I'm not white, obviously. I might have a little bit of European in me, but obviously I'm not white. So by that same token, I find it the funniest thing when like mixed people, for example, somebody who is mixed with black and white, they're like, oh well, I'm 10%. Nah. Let me do a better example. Let's say, I'm a quarter African, so that means I'm black. But bro, how can you claim black yet you have light skin? You have a hair texture that is so loose that it's literally almost, your hair is literally almost straight. And you have light eyes, like you have let's say you got like green eyes. And some people, like mixed people, like the possibilities are endless. Some mixed people have green eyes. Of course, some mixed people have dark brown eyes, like I do. Some mixed people have blue eyes. But you can't say that like, oh, he's 10% African. That means he's black. Oh, she's 30% African. That means she's black. Oh, he's 1/3 Asian. That means he's Chinese. Bro, it doesn't make sense. The one drop rule is complete bullshit. And honestly, the one drop rule was something that was created in America literally only as an effort to, quote unquote, preserve the purity of the white race. And that is stupid because, like, genetic diversity it's so complex. I couldn't even get into it. It's super deep. But basically, America, they just wanted to like separate the white people and the black people, right? Because like going back to slavery, race became a very significant factor in early American society, and that's why even to this day, race is still such a big deal. Like ancestry and lineage is such a big deal in America. So and now, like, because we all know how diverse America is, so now let me just take the one drop rule and let me take it out of the context of just black and white. Imagine me saying, oh yeah, my great grandma was from China, and so I'm 1/8 Chinese. I'm 1/8 Asian, so that means I'm fully Chinese. If I were to go to a Chinese person and say that I'm 1/8 Asian and claim Chinese, they would laugh in my face. And let me just clarify, I understand China is not the only Asian country. I'm just using China as a prime example because China is probably the most well-known Asian country, right? So let's say, like, if somebody comes up to me and is like, oh yeah, I'm 1/4 Asian, so that means I'm completely Chinese. It's like, bro, like, y'all don't know what mixed people are. Like why you don't just claim mixed? Like, you can't be 10% something and claim 100%. You can't be 10% African and claim black. You can't be half European and claim white. You can't be 1/3 Chinese and claim Asian. It doesn't make sense. It's okay to be mixed. It's okay to be mixed. The one drop rule is complete bullshit. And so that's actually another reason why the black American, the black people in general, our genetics are very diverse. Like, usually we're referred to as black because typically the defining feature of our ancestry is our African ancestry. That's why the average black person has relatively dark skin and relatively full lips and relatively poofy hair, like soft afro poofy hair. And, those are all very beautiful characteristics, very beautiful physical features. But it's like, even though for the most part we look African, like black people typically look African, all of us are not 100% African. And that just goes like even more to say that like the one drop rule means nothing, because the average black person has a little bit of European in them back from the slave days, because I guess those white men who were holding slaves, I guess they liked what they saw when it came to the enslaved women and girls. And obviously slaves had no power in society, so as a slave, anything could happen to you and nobody would protect you. So, that's why the average black person, honestly, regardless of nationality, like not even just in America, the vast majority of us have a little bit of something else too. And so that's why I have to say, like, the one drop rule is complete bullshit. Because if that were the case, then if the one drop rule was actually real, then that would mean that there would be people like me claiming white, which would be complete bullshit. And I know a very interesting example that I actually know about is in Jamaica. Jamaicans, like the vast majority of Jamaicans are black, but it's like kind of the same deal as black Americans, in the sense that, like, yeah, they're black, but you're rarely gonna find a Jamaican whose ancestry is 100% pure African. Like, a very interesting fact that I actually learned about Jamaica is that at a few centuries ago, they received like a small number of I believe Chinese laborers, like immigrants. I don't know exactly how many. I want to say, I guess like a couple thousand. And so in Jamaica, like it's not uncommon to find people with Chinese ancestry. Like it's relatively rare, but there are Jamaicans who have Chinese ancestry. And I think that some of them actually have made a point to like try to like stay separate from the black Jamaicans and like just remain like integrate into Jamaican society, but to preserve their Chinese ancestry, which I think is a little weird, a little racist, whatever. But whatever. So yeah, like there are actually some black Jamaicans who have some Chinese ancestry, because some of the Chinese immigrants, they made a point to like assimilate into the black majority. So let's say the first generation of a Chinese immigrant was, like a Chinese man who showed up to Jamaica, right? And then let's say, for example, he decides that he wants to be with a black Jamaican woman. And then, they get together and they start a family, they have kids. Naturally, like, of course, the kids are going to be half Chinese, half black. They're going to be mixed, but Chinese and black. And then, this is a potential path that you could take. Like, if the half black, half Chinese kids, the Jamaican kids, want to like go like delve deeper into blackness, then say somebody who is half black, half Chinese would go for somebody who is like, just like black, like fully black. Then the kids would be, like a quarter Chinese and then, majority black, at which case, like, they'll basically just be seen as black, even though they have a little bit of Chinese blood in them too, and probably a little bit of English too from, back from the slave days. But yeah, imagine somebody who is only 25% Chinese genetically trying to claim Asian. You'd be like, bro. And especially in the case that I just mentioned, it's like if you're like predominantly African from a genetic standpoint, yet you're trying to claim Chinese on the basis of the one drop rule. Like, well, I have a little bit of Chinese. That means I'm Chinese too. I'm like, bro, okay. You can say you're mixed with it, but you can't just say I'm Chinese, period, because you're not. Like the one drop rule is completely meaningless. Just because you have a little bit of something in you, that does not mean that you are fully that thing. So I just had to jump on here and say this because I'm so sick of people, like, I'm so sick of like seeing people, like, particularly in American society, like people, like, let's say, for example, a white person who is, let's say they are like, let's say they're 85% European, right? Or maybe let's say they're 90% European. But you're like, wait, I thought white people were fully European. I thought white people were pure European. Well, that's another thing about American history. A lot of white Americans actually are descendants of the slave trade. I don't want to say a lot because it's relatively small. And America is like, there's so many people here. So if I had to guess, like, when it comes to white Americans, probably only like a few million of them, maybe like 2-3 million of them actually do have a little bit of African blood from their maternal lines, because their grandmothers, like their mom's mom, like that's your maternal line. Your mother and her mother and her mother, like, in a lot of cases, excuse me, the further you go back, the blacker your family gets. And it's funny because, like, white people will be the first ones to denounce anything in their blood other than European. Like, the idea is to be as white as possible, to be pure white. But a lot of them are not. A lot of them have a little bit of African in them, but they don't know it because their lineage made a point to try to integrate into white society and deny the blackness that they knew that they descended from. So literally what they would be doing is they would be passing on lies to their descendants so that they could go on to believe that they're just white, so that they could integrate into, like, you know, white people in America. But yeah, bro, just to bring this to a close, the one drop rule is complete bullshit. Just because you're 5% African, that doesn't mean you're black. Just because you're like 1/8 Chinese, that doesn't mean you're Asian. Like, you could literally like switch in and switch out any race that you want to like try to think about. But yeah, bro, having a tiny little bit of a fraction of something in your blood, it does not mean that that's completely what you are. And again, I just want to say, it is okay to be mixed, okay? Being mixed it can be a beautiful thing, you know? There's nothing wrong with having a very vast majority of genetics in your ancestry. So, you know, being mixed is okay, and the one drop rule is complete bullshit. Okay? So it's your boy, Letting Know Zoe. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I'm out.